What's up? Welcome in to the Funshop podcast with Greg and Ronnie. We are streaming to you live from Los Angeles, California. What's up, Greg? How you feeling today?
Yeah, man, I'm feeling all right. You know, we just had some nice lunch at Maciel's, the vegan butcher.
Little vegan medley.
Little vegan medley, and smoked a little herbs.
Oh, we can talk about that?
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of
right.
legal. I mean, I wasn't having the best day, but you know, once the Funshop podcast starts, you know, it's like the day just gets better.
Yeah, it should get better for all of our viewers and anyone listening at home too. November 5th, Wednesday. What is it? Episode 18.
18.
We're
lucky
officially
number.
we're officially legal.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Awesome.
This weekend, let me think.
Yeah, this past weekend, PCC.
Mm-hmm. And you know, it's just like a normal PCC. It was quite chilly. I had to wear a jacket, and I found some fun stuff. Nothing. Trying to think.
Nothing mind blowing.
But you know, I found some cool stuff. I found some cool like punk scenes and different things, and yeah, it was a fun day. What about you? You weren't there.
Nah, I had to skip. Went and did some NFL stuff. You know, watched a football game over down at SoFi.
You went to the Rams.
Yeah, Rams versus Saints. I saw the 39-yard catch by Puka Nacua. Looks like everything lined up right in front of me, and like the ball went through the air, slow motion. Oh, it was amazing. Love football.
Yeah,
it's an amazing sport. It's okay.
Incredible.
It's all right. Yeah, it's not for you. And also, congratulations to the two-time world champion LA Dodgers won the Super Bowl World Series Saturday night.
Right.
Yeah, I'm getting my sports tongue-tied there.
That was a big day for Los Angeles.
Big day for Los Angeles. Yeah, big day for Los Angeles Dodgers. Big day for Asian Americans in general, I feel. So, I don't know. I'm always happy when I see, you know, 3 Asian guys like on the banner with other Dodgers. But
it's true.
You know, that's neither here nor there. But that's what's going on in Los Angeles in our worlds.
So, speaking of PCC, I actually saw our guest that's here with us today. Our
guest, all right. Who is this guy?
Terry
Stroud. Yay. Welcome in, Terry. Thanks so much.
Yeah, the clap track.
Why don't you say hello? Make sure that microphone's working.
Good evening.
All right. Good evening.
So, so I saw Terry at PCC in his normal red van, and with his box of goodies. But welcome to the Funshop podcast, Terry.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here. It's going to be great.
It's been great. It's going to be great. So what kind of stuff does Terry usually have? Like, what kind of stuff does he sell at PCC for those people that don't know?
Like vintage pornography, comic books, vintage pornographic comic books, photographs of all types, various miscellaneous paper from all different types of things that you'd ever see around the world, like Militariana and
Disneyania.
Yeah, Disneyania, automotive, steamships.
But all on paper medium.
Yeah, like for instance, take aviation. You'd have photographs. You know, that could be one box, and then other kinds of things having to do with the background of planes, like different kinds of inner office paper and things like that. And also just a general idea of it could be models, it could be trophies, so many more things.
He obviously had me at the pornographia, you know, so
yeah,
we just
I think that's what you definitely go straight to the porn section.
Well, if my host would just, you know, pan the camera around here, you'd definitely know.
Yeah, that's why we try to keep it really the shots tight, so you know, so we don't get
Not to mention all the people that are listening on audio medium that can't even see
most
that.
People,
so we have to kind of
I don't think a lot of people even watch it. So I mean, they do, but a lot of people listen to it.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought you had like the, you know, it's like a. You know, actually, I thought it was going to be like, you know, the camera's further back and then you could see all of us.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We're high tech here. We got the dual camera view with the split screens and stuff. Yeah, we're 21st century all the way here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at least you've got a monitor.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, we can see how beautiful you are. Don't worry.
Yeah, you look good, Terry.
And the people at home can imagine. They can't see your pinstripe blazer though. That's the one thing they're missing.
Yeah, thanks for dressing up. I definitely like the blazer.
I actually meant a hall monitor.
So going back to the paper goods and stuff, I don't have a question, but I wanted to get back to
yeah. So so we actually met I think at the first Comic-Con that I did. Well, I went there, with like, as you know, Mishka, me and Lamore went there. I think we had some we were releasing some toys, and I saw your booth. It kind of stuck out like a diamond in the rough, at least to me, because I like digging through boxes of stuff, and I remember we were talking. I think at that time you had gotten some collection of a spook show magician, and you had a bunch of his like photos and stuff. And so, but and then obviously I bought some stuff for you. Then we became friends. But come to find out, I didn't realize you had been doing San Diego Comic-Con since the beginning, right?
Yes, it's the first one, and even the one in 1969 was like a preview con.
So what was Comic-Con like in 1969?
It's like around, I think, I'd guess like about 300 people. And I went there, I had my table, and I was selling, and I was like, in 1970, I would have been like 17 years old. And, one thing I wanted to do was like hang out and meet, certain the celebrities that would be there, and also look to sell comic books and buy. So the basic things like that. But beyond that, I remember, I didn't want to spend any money on, paying for a hotel room. So I just started walking around the Hotel U.S. Grant, which is a, pretty fancy hotel now and then, and just seeing what would happen. And on the way of walking around, I met like 3 or 4 other people that had the same thing in mind. We're going to the con. We're not going to spend any money on anything that isn't buying a comic book. So we were all like together, like I think 4 of us. And then the person that was the organizer and owner of the whole thing, Shell Dorf, got wind of it from the manager of the hotel that these underage kids are just walking around and they're wearing Comic-Con badges. So he says, he says, let me work it out with them. Can you give them a place to stay? So they gave us this kind of adjoining room that was between the actual floor where you would go to the front desk and the other big room behind it. It's just like this space, like the size of a hallway. And they just let us sleep there all night. And so, I'm sorry, this is such a long story, but it really kind of gets the idea of the wonderment of it all. So one guy had like a bottle of booze, and I never even had drunk anything before. So, we're taking swigs from it, and I guess I drank too much, because then the next day I was hungover, and I was just so tired that I just put all the sheets down over my booth or my table, so they hang to the floor and no one could see what underneath them. And I just lied down there and went to sleep. And my friend woke me up. He said, "Don't you want to go to this bookstore?" And it was this bookstore run by this old woman downtown San Diego. And it was a place that I'd heard of but never been. But supposedly they had underground comic books not underground, sorry, comic books that were coverless from the 50s. And I was just really excited about that. So I hung over. It didn't matter. I went down there with him. We started looking. I started finding all these great comic books, all these great artists, like Basil Wolverton's Brain Bats of Venus was one of the ones. And I got like a couple hundred of them. And we went back to the Comic-Con. And I just sat there looking at those books. My hangover headache had gone away like hours before after I started looking at those books. And then one of the older dealers, he remarks, "You look like you're the cat that just ate the canary."
It's funny because similar. I think when Lamore and I went, we didn't have a place to stay, and I think our friends said that we could stay in the hotel, and like I slept underneath like a table, and there was like 8 of us in like a tiny room. So I guess some things like don't really change. But like back then, when you said like you were excited to meet celebrities, like who were you like hoping to meet? And I guess were there people that you back then doing cosplay like they do now?
Well, you know what? I don't even remember the celebrities at all.
Oh, really?
I think Jack Kirby could have been one of them, though.
And maybe some other, like maybe some of the sci-fi writers like Ray Bradbury or.
I think it had to get more up to speed as far as having some kind of uh, a real into the mindset and the numbers to draw those more.
What was the food situation like? Because you mentioned like you're not trying to spend anything that's not comic book related, but you got to survive. I mean, you still have basic needs. Like, I mean, the sheltering, I guess, I understand you can, kind of crash at the hotel and like under your booth, but
I didn't think of any way to get food. I had to pay for that, but I paid like the minimum amount.
Okay, great. So that goes to my next questions. Like, there weren't any like food trucks back then, so it was just like convention food, like chicken tendies, like hot dogs, and the basic convention crap.
They didn't have that. I mean, this is like 300 people. They didn't even.
Yeah,
have
that's
like
what I'm saying. So
they
how
didn't have like a food thing there. I mean, you had to just go out and buy.
Yeah.
It. But you know what? Here's a funny thing though. They had this little, this tiny little space off the street into the El Cortez Hotel, where where the con was held in later years. But it was just like a real hole-in-the-wall little place. And I was there with this comic artist, Scott Shaw, and it's really funny that we noticed that one of the they only had they had a very limited menu, and one of the things was tuna on a plate. And so we were just laughing at how funny that was. Well, let's get that. So I ordered it, and we watched this woman. She opens up this plastic tub, and it's got green slime all around the edge of it. And she just takes the ice cream scoop and scoops out a hunk of tuna. Like tuna salad with mayonnaise, and just goes plop on the plate and serves it to me.
And people wish they lived in the 60s.
Yeah, right.
So when did
well, this would have been like 1972,
right?
Something like that.
So when was like the first when was like the first Comic-Con where you really felt like it was kind of becoming a thing?
After a while, it did. I guess. It was like about 5 years later or so, or 6.
Yeah.
When it was at the El Cortez.
And that was like more of a bigger venue, and they probably had like a bigger convention center.
Yeah, and it was rowdy. They had a pool.
Oh, okay.
And the great thing was, you could just go to the pool and you would see everybody that was at the show. Every celebrity, every other person, every other dealer, they would just all end up going there. It's like something you could do, and you knew that, so you'd actually just go down there just to have a party.
That was just like, oh, everyone's just going to be at the pool anyway.
And there were so many good pranks. I mean, this one guy used to put the shark repellent in the pool. That really pissed off the
What's
hotel.
that?
It's something to repel sharks if you're in the water and you fear you're going to be attacked by them. It's some really kind of noxious thing that turns the pool water yellow.
Oh.
One time, Bob Clampett was there, and I guess I didn't even know this, but then somebody goes, "Oh, he wears a toupee." And one guy that I knew, he got a squirt gun. And he kept trying to spray it and knock it off of Bob Clampett's head. And Bob Clampett got really pissed and just walked away. And then the next thing we see is Bob Clampett with a whole pitcher of water standing behind the guy and asking him if he'll just knock that off.
Oh, jeez.
Shenanigans.
So you were there. So when you first went there as a dealer, I guess it was just you set up with some comics. But then eventually, I think you started a comic shop, right? At some point.
Yeah, in the 70s, middle 70s.
Yeah. So tell us about that.
Well, it was all about somebody wanting to run it.
What do you mean?
Just having somebody that had the energy. And
what city was it in?
In Studio City.
Studio City, okay.
Yeah, that's near where I lived.
So
that was the other thing, find something close.
So were you the energy part, like, because you had a partner, and so were you more of the face of it, or just when you said you needed it, like you opened it and ran it?
No, somebody else opened it.
Oh, so somebody else opened it and you ran.
Somebody else wanted to do it and said, "Hey, come on, let me open up a shop with you guys."
Oh, okay, I see.
So that's how that came about. And then sometimes I would run it on some days.
What was the name of it?
American Comic Book Company.
AC
BC.
ACBC.
ACBC.
Love it. I want to rock and roll all night. Is that right? ACDC. I want to rock and roll all night.
Yeah, sure.
So you open you open the store in Studio City. This is what, 75,
No, maybe it's a little bit later. Maybe it's more like 76.
76.
Something like that.
And like what were like people coming in and looking for, just like the newest like superhero comics basically.
Yeah, the new comics. But
Yeah.
then we tried to carry everything anyone would want. So
Like what? Like you mean like T-shirts and different things?
no,
or
every
just
kind
other
of
books?
comic book.
Oh, so like
being published.
underground or just
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, like for instance, Matt Groening's wife came in because she was distributing his product, but this was before The Simpsons. And he had this rabbit character that was in the LA Weekly.
Oh, like Life is Hell.
Yeah.
Life in Hell.
So
yeah.
they did a big book of all those collected. And this is a time when that came out that there was real pressure on getting the order right for your store because you had to order 3 months in advance. And sometimes I could never do it correctly because you have to think, how many copies can we sell? And then you buy too many and you're stuck with
Right.
them. Or,
You sell
buy
out in a second
yeah.
and you wish you had 100 more or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, he said, look, and I was doing the ordering. I was like, one of those, like the old Raiders owner. He would call the plays and everything, but he wasn't the person doing the job. So I was in that position.
You
and
know
I
what he
was,
means?
Al Davis.
Yeah. Right, but it's like when you're calling something, but you're not on the field really, and that's what would happen. I wasn't at the store, really to know who was buying what, or I wasn't there that much selling stuff there, so I just never could get it right. I was really poor at
And
ordering.
what were you doing if you weren't at the shop?
I would be grading comics because we had a huge mail order business.
Oh, okay.
We did eBay.
Well, not in the 70s.
I mean, later we did, but there we built it up into eBay.
right. So before like an eBay, it was mostly cons, and then a lot of people did like newsletters and stuff, right? Like took ads out and
There were a few, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the Rockets Blast and Comic Collector that started in the early '60s. It was just like I think two back-to-back Xerox or I don't know duplicator, not Xerox, but duplicator. What is that called? Where you have to put the fluid on it and type it out on a sheet, that kind of thing.
Oh.
But anyway, it would be like one of those, and then
Yeah.
it became more
oh,
serious.
like a mimeograph or
Yeah,
something. Yeah.
Then it became a more serious and much larger magazine in through the '60s. That's how I got started when I was in high school, selling through that publication. But then they came out with I just blanked
Overstreet.
now. No, not the
Oh,
Overstreet.
Diamond.
No, there's a magazine that came out that you could just put ads in to buy and sell comic books that came out
okay.
once a week.
That was like nationally distributed.
Yeah, and so I had to do a lot of work, most of my work on that
Oh, I see.
because I'd constantly be listing things.
But you were and so you started selling comics when you were 17. But I think we talked about it. You've always been into comics like since you were a little kid, right?
Well, I was, but I'd quit reading them at some point, and then my friends, when I was in junior high, or no, in high school, got me interested in it again, because this is another one of those crazy stories. But they saw my comic books that I had left because I didn't throw them out, and they read a couple other over at my house, and then they decided to start buying some off the newsstands. But on the way to that, I had loaned them, all the comic books to take home and read and then bring them back. And my friend had taken them on his bicycle and ridden it, like a mile to his house or whatever. And then the next couple of days later, he comes back with them. And he goes, "Oh, look what I found. One fell off my bike when I was riding home. And it was Amazing Fantasy 15.
Whoa.
And nothing had happened to it while it'd been there for 2 or 3 days, just by the side of the road.
So it fell off his bike, and he didn't tell you, and then he found it.
No,
like
he didn't know it fell off my
oh,
bike.
he didn't even know it fell off.
He just knew it was mine when he came back and saw it. And even though that book, it was in kind of a lower grade. It wasn't horrible. I mean, it's something that's like 150,000 today or whatever.
Right. Yeah. But even back then, I mean, even then, it probably was at least like, oh, it's the first appearance of Spider-Man. So
what do you think that would be back then?
Back in what, 60?
68?
Was it like 15 cents?
60? No, that was 12 cents.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I couldn't see someone paying more than $5 or $10, probably.
Yeah, that's about it.
And that was probably high.
I mean, there's this New York dealer that had a lot of comics that he sold and had been selling for years, and they found when they started buying current comic books in the 60s, they found an ad for Howard Rogowski. He's like a really famous dealer, and I remember he had Fantastic Four #1 for $25.
And that was like a big deal.
Yeah, that was a big deal to me, seeing that price, because that was really high.
Yeah. And now, did that at that time, were they considering the condition of it as well?
No.
It was just the fact that it existed.
It'd be like, grading was so primitive.
Yeah, it'd
be like good to fine or good to even. It wasn't necessarily Rogowski, but I remember one dealer had good to excellent, and then when all these ratings start coming in, like near mint.
Yeah.
He's just like totally crazed. He hates it so much because comic books aren't minted, nor are they ice cream.
Wait, I don't get the ice cream part.
Mint ice cream.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a.
But it's funnier the way you thought of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that must have been weird because obviously now, to go from because I can't think now, like when did CGC first start slabbing comics?
I can't remember. I think like in the 80s. But that brings up another kind of weird story about it, because when they first started doing that, people were all aghast. I mean, some people really liked it. A lot of people did, but some people were vocal about it. One guy was so crazy. He went and he bought a bunch of slabbed comics and then just opened them all up in a spate of protest, and it took a while for the whole thing to be accepted.
Right.
I mean, it's just it took quite a while.
But it's
one guy actually stretched his arms out and he said, arguing about graded and slabbed comic books is so pitiful. It's like you doing this, and it's a tidal wave coming at you.
Interesting. And now, that's like everybody, it's just standard that, everybody's getting everything slabbed.
Well, I imagine like when it starts, it's like the 100% of the population bought comic books to read, right? And then it's like you start this thing, and then it's like you encapsulate a comic, and 0% of the population can read this comic now, and it kind of to go from 100% to it's a big shift. And then once it gets wind and it becomes part, it gets woven into the the fabric of the hobby, then it's like you have no choice but to go with it. And there's still examples that you can read, but yeah, it's become a thing with like collecting graded comics, and it's like you can't read these things,
Right.
So it's like
Yeah,
But now,
very essence goes against the
But then they obviously
idea
they
of it.
started releasing like those omnibus and different collections where you
Right,
could like
right.
read the stories. And even before that, I know that because I guess that's the thing, is at a certain point, if you don't really need to read it, you can read it online.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, still, I'm sure there's lots of comic books out there that aren't available unless you have them.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, what I want to say is back to you, Jack.
No,
Very poignant.
one
That was
thing
poignant.
one thing that we were talking about, because I kind of was, I remember during some of the, like the first Comic-Con, I mean, I went to Comic-Con, I went to conventions as like a younger kid, like, when I was like in middle school, I'd go to like ones in Orlando, but I didn't really, I kind of stopped collecting comic books for a while. And then, going back to I think the first San Diego Comic-Con I went to was 2009. And I remember at the time I was sort of like getting into the idea of buying like Golden Age horror comics. And I was just kind of buying like based on the covers because I really, I kind of sort of, I had read like like the Charles, like it was like Charleston, like Ghostly Tales and, things like that I could find as a kid, but I never, even as a kid, it was like kind of impossible to ever like, I never like ran into a stack of like EC comics or, like any old stuff. So to me, it was kind of a new thing. And I remember I was just buying based on the covers, and I was buying like the low grades. And this was before it kind of blew up. But then you had told me when we were talking about it that like that was something that you had recognized early, and that was something that you did, and people kind of were like pissed off at you at first, right?
Yeah. What happened was, I mean, we would be into certain comic books. They weren't categorized yet. They just had to all be found and sorted. I mean, the great thing about dealing in comics back then for me was that we get these boxes in the mail, big boxes full of comic books, say like from the late 40s through the 50s. And just start pulling them out and going, gee, look at this. Oh my God. All these great looking covers. It was just fantastic. And then at some point I realized, I bet there's nobody on earth that knows all the comic books that are out there. I mean, that was obviously true to me. And for me, it was like just so special to have the opportunity to see all these books, like for the first time, with somebody else's eyes, to redefine them for a new generation. It's so exciting.
Do you remember what like the first comic that like just blew you away, and that you kind of like sort of maybe put out at your next show or something, or with like like what was like the first thing that really?
It's hard to think of a particular comic because I can think there were ones like that, but I can't even remember the titles. They were kind of obscure. And I've been thinking about this one, and I can't remember it. But I just remember that it was like this small run thing. I'd never seen any of them before. And they were just in the guide currently for like $40. And I said to this guy, look, the 5 of them, you can have them for, I know they're 40 in the guide, but you can have them for 200 each. And then a few years from now, we'll just be laughing at how low that price is. And I really meant it. And it really happened that way.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't remember what it was?
No, I don't think that many people would recognize it today. It was really obscure, but just had such great covers. It's really fantastic. I've never even seen them since.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's still, I think, some of those like, Golden Age covers, especially the ones that were violent. I think there was like I think one that we were talking about was like, is it like Black Cat, where the guy's like, just his face is like he's like blowing up and melting. And I mean, obviously there was, just other ones that were just insane.
From World War II, there were the Human Torch comics with Stromberg covers.
Oh, right.
Where the torch is grabbing some Japanese person's
arm,
and it's just melting the flesh off to the bone.
Right. Yeah, those were. I remember. Like, what are they? They're called like Timely, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are wild covers because like you really if you didn't see them, it was like you could really see how like propagandistic like the comics were during World War II. How it was like I remember I had one of the titles that had Hawkman. It was like, I can't remember what it was called, like All American or something. But I remember like I had this cover where he's like basically he's like dropping the bomb that like is like going over Hiroshima or something. It's like he's like sort of helping. So it was like kind of, I mean, obviously there's the classic cover though of like, Captain America #1 of, him punching Hitler. So, I guess people do know about him, but then there were some where, I mean, they really were kind of going, especially like with the, kind of a lot of racist, characteristics of either Japanese or even like, the black characters, like even though they were like part of the good guys, they still kind of had them as these like caricatures.
He can God. Oh, he can
what?
It's like, okay, this black character, he can play the harmonica and make a watermelon disappear or something like that.
Right. It was always very like, they didn't give him too much.
Sorry, just to cut in real quick. Johnny Ryan commented the comic that blew you away was Angry Youth Comics #5. I guess it was
probably
to reference to you guys.
Yeah, I'm talking about something from like 1952.
I know. I'm just saying.
Johnny's just trying to shout out his own comic books all the time.
Oh, okay.
But we're obviously fans. We promote. We give him a lot of promotion.
I didn't know that. I thought it was a real thing.
That was like one of.
Oh,
Johnny's...
you mean you thought you were getting paid?
No. I thought he was actually answering
he
something
thought Johnny
that we were
wasn't being sarcastic for once.
Yeah. I have a very bad sarcasm meter. I just
Well,
that's just me.
Rent the radar.
All right,
Yeah.
so you're working at a comic shop in the 70s. You're running a warehouse. I'm
listing comic books. That's the main thing.
Listing comic books, both where like in catalogs and online.
Oh, here's the great thing about that publication. We only bought full page ads. I would give them the material on index cards, in alphabetical order, and they would just set that all into type. And then they'd give us back the copy, and we'd use that to make our catalogs. I mean, it was such a great deal, all in one. Because before that, we had to hire someone to type our catalogs. Now it was just done as part of the price of getting them out for sale. It was a real breakthrough.
And why? Because you would just what would you send them?
The index cards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with everything alphabetized. And what they would do is they just typeset it, and when they ran out of space for that one page, they just stop and then start it again next week. It was actually really cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to imagine like how I can relate that to. It's kind of like AI, the original AI. You just put something in. I'm just kidding. I don't know.
It is sort of like AI, but you're not getting any extra information.
Right.
I mean, it's just so automatic, though. That's what really made it viable for us.
You also, I remember, there was a story that you told me that, if you don't mind kind of retelling. So, because I remember a few years ago, you had told me that you had once owned the original Fritz the Cat drawing.
Yeah, I did.
And how did you get that again? I forgot.
I got it from this underground artist named Simon Deitch.
And how did he get it?
I don't know.
I thought you said didn't he trade like R. Crumb some records or something? Or were you? Am I rehashing a story that never really happened?
No, you just got a story mixed up.
Okay, so what story did I mix up?
At Robert Crumb's very first show of his art, it wasn't selling, and so a couple friends of mine went there and they said, "Hey, how about if we trade you some EC comics for a bunch of this art?" And they did. They made that trade. So that's how I got some of that art from them.
Okay.
EC
but I didn't get Fritz the Cat.
What kind of comics were those?
EC comics.
Okay.
So those were like
adult.
Tales from the Crypt.
Gotcha.
Those are published by the guy that published Mad Magazine.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So they were like,
collectible.
Well, they were just they were also like very graphic,
Right.
like as far as horror, like
Right.
everything ended with some twist, and it was
little short stories like you'd have in Alfred Hitchcock Presents, that series
Cool.
kind of things.
Cool. Right.
But they were more good. They had some gross covers too that scared people. The most famous one is a hatchet and a guy holding up a head by the hair.
right. I used to have. I forgot what number
You
that
did
was.
have that.
Yeah, I think, and that was one of the when the Seduction of the Innocent, the book came out. I think that was one of the comics that they.
It wasn't because it was because of the politics of the time, and it was shown in Congress.
Right.
It was people how comic books could lead to juvenile delinquency. That's, and the funny thing about that is when it was being displayed, before Congress, then the publisher of Mad and those comic books, he was there because he was called. He was
Gaines.
subpoenaed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Gaines is there, and they ask him, "Don't you think this is just totally out of hand?" And he goes, "No. If the head was held up so you could see the blood coming out of the bottom of the head, that would be too much."
Oh, he thought that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That was his
Okay.
argument.
That's interesting.
It
Yeah, because
is.
it is kind of funny because you look back at them and they're really, I mean, I guess for the time they were pretty outrageous, but I mean compared to what people see now, I mean it was very tame.
I don't know. I'd say that people don't see the ones that are really wild now because
Well, I mean I do, I guess, because I feel like there's been a new generation of collectors that have kind of rediscovered them.
right.
And so,
But I think that there's all kinds of places that are selling comics that don't even carry those comics.
oh no,
So that's why you see them because you're interested in them.
right. So so then you were, so I'm just trying to, I guess, figure out like where you went. So you have the shop, and then eventually I guess the shop closed at a certain point.
It did, but we moved it.
And where'd
close
you move
by,
it to?
Just close by, just a couple streets away.
Okay. And then how long did that iteration
Yeah,
last?
a few years.
Yeah. And what kind of happened?
It kind of ended in 1989.
And did that kind of like coincide, do you think, what was just going on with the comic market? Because it seems like around then comics were...
No, it coincided with splitting up, my corporation that dealt in comics,
And
it wasn't doing that well anyway.
that was just because you think like people just weren't into comics as much anymore?
No, it just wasn't as good of a location for us, basically.
Oh, okay. But you were still doing the cons and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and still doing mail order.
And then but then you stopped doing the cons. Like when was the last like San Diego Comic-Con you did?
That I had a booth at.
Yeah, they had a booth at.
Probably 4 years ago.
Okay. And you think it was just because they were just trying to, well, I mean, they were obviously trying to corporatize it a lot, and it seems like now, that most of the comic book dealers they have are just selling graded comics, and it's just...
Well, really the main thing about it was that when I was setting up for that show, generally you would, have to go and get in line and everything. But there was this one clause in the contract of the loading people, and it said, if you have a booth, then on the first day of the con, for certain hours early, you can, just load your stuff in at no extra cost. So I went in and I said, look, I'm not going to pay anything, but is this available? And they said, yeah. But then when I went down, they refused to just load me in for like hours. Because when I went in, I actually wanted to make sure that there wasn't going to be a problem. And I told the person in charge there that if it was going to cost me anything, then I'd just go and load it in myself. Oh, you get back in line, she said. But then, they tried to charge me like $2,500 extra.
Oh, right. Yeah, because I think that's like a union rule or something, is if you can hand carry it, you're okay, or like if you have a little car.
No, but that wasn't the problem. The problem was that they moved it in for me.
Right. But
Yeah.
it was like the union. It's usually like the union.
Oh, you
workers.
can't. I know what you mean.
Like the union workers, yeah. Because I remember one time at New York Comic Con, we had that issue where someone I had working for me, I was like, "Where's all this stuff?" And they're like, "Oh no, they're bringing it in." And I was like, "No." I'm like, "They're gonna charge us like thousands of dollars. Like you have to like stop this before." And I think it was like too late. And I think we had to pay like $800 or something for them to literally, bring boxes that we could have just had on a on a cart or something. So, but yeah, that's...
Yeah. So anyway, that happened, and then they tried to give me a bill for $2,500. I refused to pay it, and then
that
next year I was out.
Yeah. And now, so what do you like? What do you feel about the current like state of comic books, like compared to like when you started into it? Like,
I mean, there's nothing to compare to. I mean,
it's just...
I mean, the very first show that I was a dealer at was the World Science Fiction Convention in 1968. I was 15, and I had my own table selling comic books there, because there were no comic book cons at all in L.A. or in San Francisco. So that's where people went who wanted comic books, because it was a side shoot of science fiction, and some science fiction collectors and dealers were comic fans. So people started bringing comic books to there's a localized version of it that's a smaller convention. It's still going also, and
Which one's that?
it's called WesterCon, and it's one for the West Coast.
And that's still happening.
Yeah, and that would, I went to that, and then I had gone to that Berkeley Con. That's the World Science Fiction Convention, which has a cycle of 4 shows in the East Coast, the West Coast, and then some foreign country. And that's how it all began. I mean, that was just so interesting to be part of that. The comic book fringe, when I was 15.
Yeah, I don't think I realized that you were selling comics. So were you like the only one, or were there other
people.
kids?
There were other people.
People your age or older?
No, older people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was such a weird science fiction convention. They had these really outrageous rock bands playing, like just speedy bands. And this woman just started. She was the lead singer. She started just playing the fiddle, and she just got so worked up. She just started barking like a dog into the microphone.
Was it Yoko Ono?
It could have been, It was just so. I 15, I just thought, God damn, this is just so great.
But I feel like I've seen photos, because like I asked you about like the cosplay thing, but I feel like I've seen photos from like early cons. I mean, people did dress up at a certain point, right?
Yeah. They had the masquerade at this one with the incredible costumes.
In '68, or
yeah,
really,
and before.
When did you, what was the first convention you went? I mean, 15's pretty early to even. So it was what was the first convention you went to?
That was it.
That was it. 15. Yeah. So before that, you had just kind of got into comics, and then you heard about it, and you're like, I got to do this. I started when I restarted reading comic books. My friends had told me that, look, they're better written now. They're more for someone our age instead of being off by a few years. And I realized, yeah, that's a fact. They are better now. And then I thought, man, I'd like to see some old ones. And I started just talking to people, friends of my parents and stuff. And finally somebody said, hey, I got this box of comics, And it was all comic books, from the 40s and 50s. It wasn't Marvel, but it was like Batman and Superman. And that really got me going, because now, it's getting to be closer to 1970. And unlike today, going forward, say from 1970 to 2000, going backward then from 70 to 1940 was really radical, especially looking at comic books for the first time from 1940 through 1950 something, and just seeing all the cars and clothes and everything represented through the comic books. I mean, that was an amazing thing. That was a huge influence on me, just that one box of comic books. Yeah.
And then also after that, my comic collection got stolen out of our house.
When was this?
This was like a year later or so.
It's like in 70, 71?
No, like 69 or something like that.
Like someone came, do you think someone was like someone came and
I mean, it could have been a little bit later. Maybe it was 71 when I was in college. But anyway, yeah.
But do you think it was like somebody was targeting your collection?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
No, for sure.
Even back then.
Yeah, and I did the search, but what happened was they were insured under the house policy.
Oh, okay.
So I got like $3,500 for them.
Oh wow!
And then when I found out who did it, I called the police, and he goes, you got the money, just forget it.
I guess.
That's what he said. And so I had that money, and then the famous investing magazine called Kiplinger's. They did an article on me just by chance, a little kind of blurb article about somebody who was investing in comic books from the 40s.
We got to hunt down this magazine. It's
Yeah.
Kiplinger's.
Yeah. And what happened from that is this woman contacted me. She was in Connecticut, and said, "Oh, I got this comic collection," and we talked, and I said, "Yeah, how about $3,500?" And we agreed to that. So I flew out there.
That was like the money you got from the insurance.
Yeah, so I flew out there and got the comics. And man, I was excited. You know, there's like Detective 27, Detective 38, Marvel Mystery 2, More Fun 52. Some were in really nice condition, some more average. You know, but it was this incredible collection.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, there's like a lot of there's like a clip going on now, I think, like on, you know, you kind of see these little videos online, and I think there's like a clip from maybe Comic-Con in 75 or 76. Have you seen that one where, you know, like there's like a news, like a local news is asking some kid, you know, what's Detective 27 worth or something, and he says like, you know, $1,000 or something or whatever it was, and then, you know, now obviously they're in the millions. So so it seems like did you ever have an Action Comics #1?
Yes.
Yeah.
But my partner traded it for a hot rod.
Without you knowing?
Yeah.
Really?
It was a 1938 comic book for a 1938 Ford Coupe with a 350 Chevy engine in it.
Wow.
Is that a good trade?
No.
Oh.
No, not especially. I mean, probably not even then. It probably wasn't a good trade, right?
Yeah, not really, because I mean, it's hard to take care of that car. I couldn't even drive it, man.
Was it built by anyone like known, or was it just like
I never even knew.
Really? Wow.
But my partner got that when
I can see
we
why your
split up the
business
corporation.
went under. Jesus.
Your partner's trading your comics for cars, hot rods.
That's when he got into Robert Williams.
I ain't that smart, but I could tell you.
But you did okay. Maybe I got this. See, maybe I do remember though you telling me a story about you having that, because I remember you had said, oh, because I remember we were friends at the time, and you had said, oh, you know, like, did you hear about that original Fritz the Cat art just sold for like $250,000, and you were like, I used to have it. Mm-hmm. And then that's where I got the story from. But then I think you told me you traded it in the 80s for a bunch of wine.
Yeah, for rare wine.
Yeah,
and the wine kept going up too.
Yeah, so did you end up selling the wine?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And drinking it.
Oh, gee. I was waiting for that one. I'm like, man, this is not going to...
I like drinking it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
It wasn't a problem. You know, the thing about the wine is that sometimes that like I had some bottles that I ended up selling for $2,000 that I bought for $50.
Wow.
But the weirdest thing about wine that happened to me, as far as a ratio goes, was in New Orleans at Brennan's restaurant, and they had like these wines from the Domaine di Romanée-Conti, including their flagship wine, which is one of the greatest wines in the world to this day. And they had the 1971 vintage, and this is in the 90s. And I wanted to get it, but it was $240, you know, on their menu. But I knew that was a bargain, so I waited till this friend of mine that collected wines came to the Jazz Fest, which is why I was there, really. And then I said, let's go to Brendan's and have lunch. And when we got there, I said, hey, you know, there's this wine I want to try, the Domaine di Romanée-Conti Vineyard from 1971. He goes, oh, no, that $240, that's way too much. And I said, so what you're saying is that I know this wine goes for $1,000 at auction, and that's like the wholesale price. So what you're saying is that if we really want to enjoy this bottle, we'll wait till it's like $10,000, because we'll be making so much more money in relation to $240 today. And he goes, yeah, good idea, good point. Let's get it. So we get it, and the sommelier is decanting it. He goes, excellent choice, sir. We had a wine group come in here last month, and they went through an entire case of this. So then, like a couple of years ago, I looked to see how much it sells for online, and it's like $32,000 a bottle.
Wow.
So that's 40 plus year old wine.
So that's a pretty. So you guys were at the. So it was right. I mean, you were drinking. Well, you said 10,000, but probably at a certain point it was 10,000, but now it's 30,000.
Yeah,
So you were drinking a 30,000.
Yeah, I was just throwing out 10,000 because that
Right,
was
right.
outrageous then.
Yeah.
The thing about that wine is, it still needed like another 20 years in the bottle to reach its peak.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but like the wine collectors say, it's better to think of what this wine is going to be in the future rather than be drinking and saying, "Geez, this must have been better quite a while ago."
That's how they get you, right? That's the line. That's how they get you. That's how they'd get me. Right?
Yeah, that's probably how they get me too.
Well, you can always get wines that are really good, that are ready to go.
Like no matter what, my 48-year-old palate can't tell the difference, between 10,000 and 32,000, and I just don't have the
I know, but it's
discerning taste.
I mean, that's like a rare occurrence to
Yeah,
drink a
no-
wine like that,
yeah, no
especially
kidding.
have a half a bottle of it. Because I've been to wine tastings. Hugh Blind used to have this wine tasting where they just have all these rare wines that you could just. It was only $40, and then you could have all these rare wines that would cost like $40 for just like a taste. Like one time I went there, and my friend it was in San Francisco. My friend says, "Oh, I want to go." I go, "I don't have another ticket." He goes, "Oh, yeah, I'll be able to get in. You'll be able to get in." And he says, "Ask him if you can bring a guest." And the guy at the door, he's real formal. He goes, "Oh yeah, you can bring a guest." I go, "Why don't you say that, so that people know?" He goes, "Oh, we want to keep." He goes, "We want to keep that on the down low."
Right.
Right. Yeah. Well, if they're giving,
makes
if it's
sense.
only $40 and they're giving this really.
So I walked in and I went to like Chateau de Kim, one from the 50s. It's a really great year, and the person who's waiting pours me an entire full glass of it.
There you go.
And then this guy who's watching the staff just comes racing over. "Man, you touched me like this bit."
Yeah, I mean, like that must. And your eyes are probably just like, ooh.
I was the first person at that table because when I saw it, I thought, "Man, these wines are so expensive, and I want to try a really great old one." and another great thing is I got to try a wine from like 1750 something.
Wow.
Jesus Lord.
You had to get in a line, and you got just a tiny little bit, and it didn't taste good, but it actually tasted like wine and fruit.
Really?
Yeah.
So it had. You can actually.
You could tell it was wine. Yeah,
Wow.
It wasn't like some burnt out thing.
It was actually sangria from earlier that day.
I know sangria that someone buried in the glass in the lawn for a couple days.
But then when I think about it, and it's like I parallel it to like what I like, what we like, and stuff, and it's like I don't know the difference between one wine or the other. But like if it came to like herb, like cannabis, like that's I feel like that's where I could taste the difference. If you told me this was like $1,000 strain or whatever per gram strain or something, like get out of here, let me taste that, and then I could tell you, it's like holy cow, it's it's special, or it's like worth it. So I guess it's just, it's like a pick your poison type thing in my eyes.
One time at New York Comic Con, this drug dealer was investing in comic books, so he was like hanging out during the whole thing, and there's this poker game that was going that I was going to go to, so I invited him. This was at the Commodore Hotel.
What year was this?
This would have been in the 80s.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to the room where the poker game is, and I see the drug dealer just walking around the hall all stoned. I go, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, I'm going to that poker thing." So we go in, and these guys, there's like four guys, and they're having this really kind of intense hand, and that they're all kind of interested in. And he just passes a joint, and they all take a hit, and then the game gets really exciting, and boils down to two people, and they're all raising, re-raising like 3 times, 4 times any other pot that night, raising and raising, going. Finally, it ends, and one guy loses, and the guy that loses goes, "I don't care that I lost. It's just so exciting to be here." And that was because they were all just so stoned, and that was the end of the poker game. So the next day, I'm talking to this drug dealer's wife, and she goes, "Oh yeah, that's strong. I had some of it made into extracted into, so that it's like the essence of that pot in a wax base."
It's concentrate. Yeah.
And so she goes, I go, man, I'd like to try that. She goes, oh no, oh no. She goes, I tried it. I put the tiniest amount that I could get on my little finger and ingested that. And I was on my back for 3 days.
I've been there.
That reminds me of there's a clip I saw on Instagram, and it's like these guys eating seafood in Thailand, like where they barbecue their own seafood, and while the seafood's cooking, the guy scoops a little a little scoop of like hash oil or like concentrate oil and like drops it in like the clam and like lets it cook, and then you see him taking the clam and like eats the clam with the hash oil, and I'm like, wow, that's my kind of whatever, delicacy with the hash oil, because that stuff will get you wasted.
So was the drug dealer like buying a lot of comics? Do you remember?
Yeah, he's buying comics.
Yeah.
With all the poker money he won.
But I used to get hash oil.
Heck yeah.
It was good. And it always came from New York.
Oh yeah.
You couldn't really get it out of here. But
major port.
But one time,
not in LA.
there was this like really eccentric guy, and his name was Elmer Perdue. He was like this crazed character that I met at a science fiction convention, and then I started buying things from him because he had a lot of collectibles that he would sell. And he had a lot of collectibles that he couldn't find or that had been stolen or whatever. Like he said, he had 100 copies of Mad comic book #1. Oh. And I believe him because he said they used to be up in this attic, and I climbed up there and I found a copy of Mad #1 eaten by rats. So it only had like about half the comic book left.
Wait, in the attic that...
In his house.
Oh, in his house.
Yeah.
Oh, so
he had this gigantic, huge piece of like butcher paper or something in his living room. And it was signed at a banquet for all the artists that did comic strips, like in the 1940s, somewhere in there. So it had, Hal Foster, it had the creator of all these characters, Dick Tracy, the Phantom, drawings, by them, original drawings on this big thing. And then he had all this abstract art, kind of cubistic art by some artist. They said he was keeping for the artist.
And you don't remember who it was, the artist?
No, I'm sure he said, but I don't remember that now. But that was very interesting. And he liked to smoke pot, and he drank, and he would build things like if there's a table.
Don't forget to stay in the microphone.
Yeah, sorry. I can't even do it. But you'd have a table next to the couch, and then you would put something on top of it, which he would do, and then it was largely coins. He'd do stacks of like 10 pennies on a checkerboard until he got to a certain point. Then he'd put something else on top of that. And this had been going on for some time because it was like 3 or 4 feet high,
It's so bizarre.
And one time, and all he had was aisles. He had a maid who came once a week, but all the maid could do is make aisles in his house.
Whatever happened to that guy's collection?
I'll tell you later, but I want to finish this. I want to finish this quick part of it.
Okay.
He would get drunk, and one time he got drunk and fell over and knocked that whole construct, to the floor. This guy had all these lockers outside, and when he said, go through those and see if there's anything you want to buy. So I'm looking, and there's like this jar full of money, 20s and change.
And did he even know it was there?
I don't know, because when I went in, I said, hey, you want to get this out of those lockers, right?
Yeah.
He said, no, just put it back in there.
So I have a couple more questions. Just
I have one more thing to say.
Okay.
It's about that hash oil. So one time, here's how funny this guy was and how out of another age. He says, yeah, sure. So I give him this joint. It has hash oil, but I didn't tell him it had hash oil. I just gave it to him, and he smokes it, and he goes. First, when he sees it, he goes, "Oh, gauge," because that's what people used to call marijuana back in like the 30s and 40s.
Okay.
He goes, yeah, gauge. And he's all happy. So he starts smoking, and he goes, then he takes his hand away, and he's still got this roach in his mouth lid, and then he goes, And then he starts violently coughing like he's going to die. And this goes on for about 2 or 3 minutes.
This is Elmer Purdue.
Yeah. And he looks up, he goes, "What's in that?" And I say, "Hash oil." He goes, "Hash oil, the hell you say?" And this was a guy that at the World Science Fiction Convention, there's a party, a party with all the top fans and everything. And he just walks in and into the bedroom because it was a suite. And there's some fans in there. And he walks over to the nightstand and he pulls out the Bible. And then he writes something in it. And he puts it back. And then when he walks back out into the main room, people look to see what he'd written. And he'd written God, so it would be an autographed Bible. And so from then on, a lot of people would just call him God. Oh, God was here.
That's really funny. God, I mean, look, I wonder you could get that slabbed. Get that Bible slab signed by God.
You know what? I wish I'd gotten slapped somehow. One time, Jack Kirby came by my booth and he was smoking a cigar. And I said, "Man, let me have that cigar and just sign it for me." He goes, "Oh, no, absolutely not." But Scott Shaw was there and he goes, "Oh, come on, Jack. He just wants that cigar for his collection." So he goes, "Okay," and he signs it. And when he's handed it to me, he goes, "Don't touch the wet end."
So you got Jack Kirby to sign the cigar for you.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to that?
It disintegrated.
Just disintegrated. See,
Yeah.
if you could have slabbed it, that thing could have still been going.
I know.
It'd still fall apart.
Man.
Then years and years later, I went to visit Joe Simon, and he gave me a cigar.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And you had him sign it.
No, because he was too uptight. You know what? My friend that took me over to see him had this box of Cohibas. And I really like, Cohibas. It's a Cuban cigar, and I just wanted one to smoke. So I had my friend ask him, and he just said no. But my friend just kept working. "Oh, come on, give him one of those cigars. You have a whole box of them." So he grudgingly gave me one, and then when we got back to my friend's place in Brooklyn, the phone rings and my friend comes back for the phone and he says, "Oh, that was Joe Simon. He's out of his head. He started raving. He's raving mad. He's so high from that cigar." And he says, "Oh, I wish I'd never even given that other one away."
It was one of those hash oil cigars.
No, you know what? I have gotten high off of a Cohiba cigar.
No, trust me. Those actual Cuban cigars are really strong, especially if you don't smoke.
Cohiba is the only one I've really, had a few of, that might be like that. But, one time I went to a dinner and everyone was just like full, but we decided to go and see this act at the Dresden Room. Marty and Elaine. They would play like a synthesizer and do these
just
weird
a typical
tunes.
lounge act.
Yeah, but they were really famous and they were in the movie, one of these famous movies with, I just can't think of it, but a really big movie that's still big today. And they were in it. And that's what got this place so crowded. So we went there. That's back when you could smoke. And then there's like 5 or 6 of us. And we just hated it. You had to stand. It's smoky. "Let's get out of here. Yeah, let's get out of here." And then one guy goes, No. I went to Cuba. I got us all a Cohiba cigar. So we all lit up, and I took one puff, and I thought, "Geez, this is like smoking a nicotine cloud. It's so incredible." And I looked at all the other people smoking, and I could see they had the exact same idea. And all at once we said, "Man, this place is great. Let's get a bottle of Dom Perignon," and we did.
Just all from the Cohiba.
Yeah.
No, I remember the last time I smoked when I was with someone who had just gotten here from China, so they had some, and I remember I could only barely take a couple puffs, it just went right to my head. It was just intense.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it? When you're just thinking it's a cigar and not
You guys are
pot.
weak. For the record, you guys are weak.
Yeah, we're pretty weak.
I mean, we had a really pleasant experience with that cigar.
Yeah,
but that reminds me when you said. Back to that Berkeley Con in 1968. I mean, this is like a weird experience for a 15-year-old. I was with this friend that was a real asshole, and what happens is we're in the elevator, and there's this Chinese guy who's running the elevator, and he is,
Don't look at me. I wasn't there.
and he has all these sprays, you know. It's like if someone farts in the elevator, you know, that you could just use to camouflage. He's got like eight cans of
That actually
different
is me.
things.
Oh, so is this like? Was this like
he
kind
had
of
a
like
shelf? He had a shelf inside the elevator.
So this is like kind of like when you see like those people in the
in washrooms.
in the washroom. So this was like an elevator guy like that.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So my friend, like, just to be an asshole, grabs one of them and pretends like he's gonna spray it, and then when the door opens, he walks out ahead of me, and then the elevator operator turns to me and says, "Maybe you want knife in belly," while he's looking into my eyes.
Jesus.
That's my uncle.
That's
That was my uncle's line.
if you want knife in belly.
Maybe you want knife in belly.
Don't mess with the fart spray.
So I mean, what would have been the protocol? You got to ask him to spray you, or ask him for the spray, or you have to pay for it.
No, I don't think you had to pay. I think that he would just, if it was a nasty fart, then he
would have just used it to.
No, he would have used it. Then he would have expected a tip.
Gotcha. Oh, interesting.
okay.
Interesting. I feel like did he have breath mints? I feel like the breath.
He might have had
mint is-
other things too. He
Yeah,
had
the
like
breath
he had
mint
like
would
a
have been-
whole thing like you'd put like a spice rack, you know.
Yeah.
In there, there's probably other things.
I feel
too,
like I would have
bet.
been like self-conscious about my breath, like the smell of my breath in an elevator. That would have come in handy.
we're a little over an hour, but I do want to there was a story you told me recently. Maybe I thought it was funnier than it actually is going to be, but I remember you telling.
I'll judge that.
Okay. Well, maybe you were reading my mind, and pun intended, because I was going to ask you about the time your buddy said, "Oh, let's go over to my friend's studio," and it was Mike Judge.
Yeah. So this friend of mine calls me up. He says he heard about this animator, and he made an appointment to go and see him, and he wanted me to go along. So we went to this industrial park in North Hollywood, and I mean, this was at 9:30 at night, so there's just no sign of life really.
Yeah.
And we go up to one of the units, and we knock, and then Mike Judge answers the door, and this is like in the 90s. And so he just showed us everything he was working on. I mean, I don't remember everything, but the main thing he had was like about 45 minutes of this chihuahua that would fart in a swimming pool or in a bathtub, and then you'd see the fart bubble up to the surface and pop. That was like 45 minutes.
Like an original meme.
And then he had test shots for Beavis and Butthead,
Yeah, I was
though.
about to ask.
And they were just like, a few seconds long with him going, And then I don't remember the rest of it, but we were there for 2.5 hours.
Just watching Beavis and Butthead.
Imagine it. When you saw it, you already knew what Beavis and Butthead was, or you didn't know? at the
No,
time?
no,
Wow.
it was before it had any.
Well, it
That's
seems
crazy.
like the Chihuahua. It seems like he thought the Chihuahua thing was going to be the big break.
That's what I thought, because I mean that was all finished.
So when
Yeah.
you saw it blow up on MTV years later or whatever, you were like, "Holy smoke! That's the crap I saw in that guy's thing with the Chihuahua."
I didn't even think about it because I never was into Beavis and Butthead.
Oh yeah, entertain us for the podcast.
No, at least he got
I
to
know.
see the early versions.
That's amazing, though.
I couldn't only imagine just like showing up at some random North Hollywood and seeing
I mean,
these little
it's
things.
like just gigantic, just like where you bought that last collection from.
Right, yeah,
Maybe a little bit bigger than that.
yeah. So he was just in there. That's so funny.
Wow, yeah, that's a great story.
Yeah. Is there anything else? Well, we're just about to wrap. But do you have
I
anything?
know.
Do you have
I
anything
don't know.
else? Terry?
I thought of so many things.
Yeah, we
that
might
I
have
just
to.
had
We might have to do a part 2
Yeah,
because I
maybe.
feel like there's some. I mean, we didn't even get into your Carl Barks painting that you bought.
Yeah, or on the Merv Griffin show with.
Oh yeah. Okay, wait. Let's let him tell the Merv Griffin show real
Okay.
quick. So
All right.
let's end with that. So this is what year? This is
79.
Okay. And so you get called to be on the Merv Griffith show. Is it Griffith or Griffin?
Griffin,
Griffin.
like Griffin.
And okay, Gryffindor. It's my favorite one. No, just
Slytherin.
Slytherin. And so they call you, and what are they like? Why are you going on the show?
Because this friend of mine was going out with the one of the guys that helped produce it. He was like some junior producer.
Yeah.
And so he met me, and we got to talking. And he thought, oh, that'd be good. Because that's when I had the Barks painting.
Okay.
And then it was worth about $10,000. So that,
And this was like and just to paint the picture, I mean, this was just like a nice, beautiful Carl Barks painting of Uncle Scrooge. And
Donald Duck and the nephews.
Okay, so just like a classic.
The title of it is Who Goes There?
Okay, Who Goes There?
Yeah, so that was the thing that really enticed him, and I guess it did, Merv as well, because it was worth so much money.
Right.
But then I had to bring a lot of other things, and I just brought things that were fun to show, and they really weren't worth that much money. But they were funny, and the audience was just really having a good time. Unfortunately, every time I'd take a breath, then Merv would go, well, how much is it worth? And I'd go, it's worth like $100. I mean, it didn't really matter. It was the content. Like one cover was a jungle cover, like Rula or something like that. And it had Rula's boyfriend in bondage in the jungle. And then in the foreground, and then it had Rula, then in the foreground, it had a snake, huge in the foreground, and it had a penis-shaped head on this snake. So I described that to Merv's audience, and man, they were really cracking up. And then Merv goes, "Oh, how much is it worth?" It's worth $75. So the next thing I did, and when Merv asked me that, it's worth $5,000. Merv, he goes, "Really?" I go, "Nah, no."
Now, when wasn't there? Who was the
Pee Wee Herman was
So-
also on. Yeah.
And he was like he was like doing his stand up.
Paul Rubens. But he was doing the Pee Wee Herman shtick.
That must have been super early.
It
That must have been
was.
one of his first ones.
It was pretty early, yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's coming off the stage, and I'm coming out of the green room, and then there's a walkway in between, and we high five each other, and then like a week later, he was in this record store near my house. So I said, "Hey, how are you doing? How'd you like that Merv Griffin show?" He goes, "Oh, I'm still trying to forget it." And then every time I'd see him, like at an art opening or something, after that one time I saw him at the music store, he always had an entourage with him. But he would get rid of them, and then we'd talk for a few minutes about what we've been doing.
Oh, that's cool. When you saw him, did you say, "Oh, this is gonna be"? This guy's good, he's gonna be something, or did it
I didn't know who he was. I just didn't, he looked pretty cool, just to see him that first time.
right?
But I didn't really know his act. I mean, he'd been doing the act for a couple of years then.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's
Cool.
awesome.
Yeah, it's a great story.
Well, yeah, Terry, I think we have to do a part 2 of this, because you have I mean obviously I haven't heard a lot of what you told today, but I know that there's even more, and so it's cool just getting your insight, especially into collecting, like the early days of collecting comics, and just seeing how it all started.
Yeah. I'll tell you about the time I tried to get Jack Kirby to light a quarter stick of dynamite.
Ooh, to be continued.
To be continued.
Yeah, I'll have to say that one. A quarter stick of dynamite.
The Jack Kirby and the Kirby. That would have been some real Kirby crackle.
No, that's when he had like this secondary world that he created for DC Comics after Marvel, and there was this kind of intergalactic.
Was this the New Gods, or was this something?
It was part of that whole thing.
Yeah.
But there was something called the boom tube. So when I'm holding up this cigar to him, I'm saying, "Come on, light it, Jack. It's the boom tube." Because he was smoking a cigar. I wanted to just light it off a cigar.
So you wanted to murder Jack Kirby?
No, I wasn't wanting to put it down.
Crazy guy.
All right. Well, thanks again, Terry. Appreciate you
Thank
being
you,
on the
Terry.
show.
All right, and thanks for lunch.
Oh, you're welcome.
You're welcome.
Always.
Well, yeah. Coming up, let me see. This weekend, Rose Bowl.
Rose Bowl this weekend. I'll probably be walking around, and
I think I got a bunch of family stuff going on.
and then
so I'm not really
next,
pertinent.
and then this weekend, but next weekend is decon.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that next Wednesday
Yeah, so
show.
next- yeah.
Weekend, next Wednesday will be the decon preview. I feel.
Yeah, so it'll just be us. We'll do the decon preview. I mean, maybe we can if we can learn how to Skype someone in, maybe we can get someone from decon in or something. But if not,
Ooh, that would be interesting. We'll work on that.
So yeah, remember to like and subscribe, comment, let us know what you think about the show. Thanks
All
for
right.
watching as always.
Peace out, guys.